The glass door slams behind Amelia as the boardroom rises to its feet. Papers flutter. Her coffee jolts in her hand, splashing the table. She stares at the man at the head of the room, the man who just pushed through a crowd of assistants like weather cutting across a field. Ethan Blackwell. Her breath stumbles. He looks up. Their eyes lock. The same eyes from the dim hotel room. The same voice that whispered, "You deserve more than you think." Her fingers go numb. The paper cup crushes in her grip. "Ms. Hart," someone asks, tentative, "you all right?" "Fine," she lies, voice thin. Ethan's expression doesn't move, but she sees it. The flicker of recognition, the brief, private earthquake behind his calm. He gestures to the seats. "Let's begin." The room settles. Chairs scrape. Amelia slides into one at the side of the long table, pulse pounding loud enough to drown the introductions. Sales projections. A Europe launch. A philanthropic partnership. No words land. Every syllable dilates into that night. Soft laughter, rain on the window, a hand that held her like she was breakable and brave all at once. "You'll lead creative," the VP says to her. "Tight timeline, but your portfolio speaks for itself." Amelia nods. Her lips feel like borrowed glass. She keeps her gaze on the notes in front of her, refuses the gravitational pull of Ethan's voice until he says, "Ms. Hart, your view on the brand tone for the gala." She forces herself to look up. He's immaculate, charcoal suit, crisp shirt, nothing out of place. But his eyes are not cold, they're careful. She hates that she knows the difference. "Understated," she says, willing her voice steady. "Clean lines. Let donors feel like quiet heroes rather than the focus." He holds her a beat longer than he should. "Agreed." He moves on. She exhales, the breath shaking out of her like a confession. After the meeting, she slips into the corridor, aiming for anywhere he is. The elevator doors part. "One moment," he says behind her. The doors start to close. She jabs the open button, then hates herself for obeying. He steps in. The doors slide shut with a hush. Floor numbers light up, one by one, a countdown she didn't ask for. "Congratulations on the role," he says, hands in his pockets like this is any other morning. "You earned it." "Thank you, Mr. Blackwell." Her voice is small and formal and not hers. Silence stretches, the elevator hums, he looks at the doors. "I didn't expect," he stops, tries again. "Are you all right?" "All right," she repeats brittle. "Yes." The elevator stops at the lobby. She bolts out first. In the bright air, she tastes rain and relief, and also the tin tang of panic. He doesn't follow. She tells herself she's grateful. Weeks earlier, a bar where the lighting was forgiving and the music was soft enough to hear your own heart. The city had soaked her coat. The job interview that morning had left her feeling like a faded flyer peeling off a lamppost. She chose a corner stool and a warm drink she couldn't finish. Then a stranger sat one seat away and asked, "Bad day or bad month?" "Bad year," she said before she could stop herself. He didn't pry. He listened. He asked about her designs, not like a man flattering, but like a man looking for a map inside her answers. When she laughed at a dumb story about tripping on a museum step, he laughed, too, not at her but with her, in a way that made the room feel bite-sized and kind. "Sometimes," he said, tracing a ring of water with his finger, "the bravest thing we do is keep moving." "Sometimes," she said, "we stop long enough to feel like human beings again." Rain patted the windows. Their shoulders leaned closer. The world outside shrank. They didn't trade last names. They traded truths, the kind that taste like salt to say out loud. And when his hand cupped her face, she didn't feel reckless. She felt chosen. He'd kissed her like she was a door he'd been knocking on for years. And when her room blurred into warm light and breathless hush, when his mouth on her shoulder made the past loosen its grip, the world slipped to the edge of the bed and waited there, patient. Fade to black. The safe kind, the kind that says, "You matter." Morning was pale and quiet. A note on the nightstand, "You deserve more than you think." No phone number, no name, just a line that felt too large for the paper holding it. She'd pressed it between the pages of her sketchbook and told herself not to cry. Then she cried anyway. Now, in the present, she steps out into the city's noon and lets the noise drown the memory. She takes the long way back to her desk. She drafts mood boards like a soldier cleaning a weapon. She answers emails with surgical precision. She doesn't look toward the glass office where Ethan stands with his back half turned to the skyline, a figure carved from restraint. At 5, she packs up and tells herself she'll leave without another collision. She makes it to the elevator alone. Doors close. Relief. Until a hand slips between and the doors bounce open. "Amelia," he says, stepping in. Her name in his mouth is too familiar. She flinches. "Ms. Hart," she corrects. He nods, receiving the boundary like a verdict. The elevator glides. "I owe you an apology." "For what?" she asks deadpan. "For existing." "For leaving a note where a conversation should have been," he says softly. Circumstances that night were complicated." She stares at the floor indicator. "Complicated, right. I didn't mean to make you feel discarded." "I don't feel discarded," she says, and the lie tastes like metal. "I feel—" The elevator dings at the lobby. She steps out. "Have a good evening, Mr. Blackwell." He doesn't stop her. He lets the doors close. He stares at his reflection in the gold seam and looks like a man paying for something expensive in a currency he can't name. Outside, Amelia texts her best friend Naomi. "He's my boss." She stares at the steam. "You don't have to fix things with caffeine." Not trying to fix anything, just share silence for a few minutes. Something in his tone makes her stop fighting. They sit in companionable quiet, the city glittering beyond the glass. After a moment he says softly, "You know what I miss? Talking like this without expectation." Amelia studies him. "Do you talk like this with all your employees?" He smiles faintly. "Only the ones who make me forget I'm supposed to be the boss." Her throat tightens. "You shouldn't say that." "I know." He looks away. "I just wanted you to know I still remember the rain that night, and how you smiled right before you told me your dreams." "Stop," she whispers. "Don't do this." He nods, standing. "Good night, Miss Hart." When he leaves, her heart beats out a rhythm that keeps her awake long after. At the weekend, Naomi drags her to a flea market. "You need air and maybe a fake plant," she insists. Amelia laughs. "You mean emotional CPR?" "Exactly." They wander through stalls until Naomi spots the company newsletter on a screen near a booth. Ethan's photo fills it. CEO Ethan Blackwell to host annual charity gala supporting orphaned youth. Naomi whistles. The man's PR department deserves medals. Amelia forces a smile. "Yeah." But later that night, scrolling through updates, she sees a caption. "Rumor has it, Blackwell may announce his engagement to socialite Vanessa Cole at the event." Her stomach drops. She stares at the photo of Ethan beside a tall, poised woman with magazine-perfect grace. At work Monday, gossip floats like static. "Vanessa's coming," someone whispers. "Big announcement expected." Amelia keeps her face neutral. Ethan passes by without a glance, back to his unreachable self. When the day of the gala arrives, she's backstage, managing lights and design placement. Her dress is simple black. Her badge hangs around her neck. Everything's perfect, until she sees Vanessa. The woman glides across the room, hand resting on Ethan's arm, cameras flashing. Naomi's voice echoes in Amelia's earpiece. "You okay?" "Yeah," Amelia says, lying again. "Everything under control." The speeches begin. Ethan steps to the podium. "Tonight, we celebrate those who rebuild lives from nothing." His gaze flickers toward Amelia in the wings. "And those who remind us what kindness looks like." Applause fills the hall. Vanessa beams. Amelia forces herself to look down at her clipboard. After the event, she slips outside for air. The garden is quiet, the fountain soft in the dark. Footsteps follow. She doesn't turn. "Shouldn't you be celebrating?" she asks. Ethan's voice is closer than she expected. "Vanessa isn't my fiancé. That rumor isn't true." She exhales. "You didn't owe me that clarification." "I wanted to give it anyway." She faces him. The night lights trace his face. "Then what do you owe me, Ethan?" He swallows. "An explanation, and maybe the truth I was too afraid to tell." Her eyes flash. "Which is?" That night wasn't an accident. He steps closer. I saw you earlier that day. You were sketching in the hotel lobby, completely lost in your own world. I noticed you before you ever looked at me. She blinks. You followed me. No, I just couldn't stop thinking about you. She shakes her head, conflicted. You don't even know me. Maybe not completely, he says, voice low, but I know how it felt to be near you, like I was allowed to be ordinary. Silence presses between them. The fountain hums. She crosses her arms. Ordinary isn't what I need. Honesty is. He nods slowly, then asks anything. Why did you run? His eyes flicker. Because I thought if I stayed, you'd see everything wrong with me. The empire, the expectations, the mess I come from. I thought I'd ruin you. You didn't ruin me, she says quietly. You just reminded me how temporary things can be. He flinches like she slapped him. She turns to leave, but he says her name again, softer this time. Amelia. She stops. I'll respect your space, he says, but I won't pretend that night didn't mean something real. She doesn't answer. She walks back into the noise of the gala, pulse trembling between anger and ache. Later, Naomi finds her on the balcony, breathing through it. He's dangerous, isn't he? Not in the way people think, Amelia says. He makes me want to believe again. Naomi sighs. That's the worst kind of dangerous. The next few weeks, distance becomes their unspoken agreement. They speak only through emails and brief meetings. But once, late at night, she finds a sticky note on her desk in Ethan's handwriting. I meant every word. Thank you for reminding me I'm human. She folds it into her notebook, tells herself it means nothing. Then the company announces a new project, international expansion, and she's asked to travel to Paris with the executive team, including him. The flight is 10 hours of polite silence and stolen glances. When turbulence hits, the plane jolts and she grips the armrest. Ethan's hand covers hers without thinking. She stiffens but doesn't pull away. You okay? He murmurs. She nods. I hate flying. You'll be fine, I've got you. For a second, it's just them again. The world steadies. In Paris, the team splits after meetings. Amelia explores alone, sketchbook in hand. Near the river, she hears a familiar voice behind her. You always draw when you're thinking. She turns. Ethan stands with a coffee, casual jacket, eyes softer than she remembers. I didn't plan to run into you, he says. I believe you. He smiles. That's progress. They walk along the water. The city glows. Their conversation drifts from work to childhood, to loss, to fear. When they pause on a bridge, he says, do you ever feel like life gives you the same test twice just to see if you've learned? All the time, she answers. And what if I told you I want to pass it this time? Her pulse quickens. You mean us? He nods. If there's still in us to find. She stares at the water. I don't trust easily. I know, he says, but I'm not asking you to forget, just to see me as I am now. She meets his gaze, and for the first time doesn't look away. Then start with the truth, she says. No secrets, no exits. Deal, he says. They stand in silence, Paris alive around them, hearts cautiously rewriting what was broken. If you're still watching, hit subscribe and drop a comment. Should Amelia trust him again? Your thoughts might decide how this story ends. The hotel lobby glows with soft amber light when they return from dinner. Amelia hesitates at the elevator, still reeling from the quiet honesty of their walk. Ethan presses the button and turns to her. Thank you for tonight. I forgot what calm feels like. Don't get used to it, she teases, though the edge in her voice is gentle now. I'm trying not to. He smiles, a rare unguarded expression. The elevator dings open. They step in, alone again, the hum of the lift heavy with words unsaid. As the doors close, Ethan says quietly, I didn't think I'd get another chance to explain. Amelia keeps her eyes forward. You didn't, you just took one. He chuckles softly. Fair. The silence stretches until she says, You're different out here, less armor. Maybe I'm tired of wearing it, he admits. The elevator stops, her floor. She turns, about to step out, when he adds, "I meant what I said earlier, no secrets." She studies him for a long moment, sees the sincerity behind his exhaustion. Then, "Good night, Ethan." "Good night, Amelia." In her room, she sits on the bed, shoes still on, staring at her reflection in the dark window. For the first time in months, she feels the strange hum of hope, fragile but alive. The next morning, they present to investors. Amelia shines, confident, passionate, creative. Ethan watches her with pride that borders on awe. When she finishes, the board applauds. One of the partners murmurs, "She's the reason this brand feels human again." Ethan only nods. Later. At lunch, he finds her on the hotel terrace. "You were brilliant," he says simply. "Thank you. You reminded me why I started this company, to build something real, not just profitable." She tilts her head. "And what's real to you now?" He hesitates, then says, "This, conversations like this." She laughs softly. "You sound like a man who's had too many corporate dinners." "Maybe," he says, "but I'd rather eat cold fries with someone honest than steak with people pretending." The line makes her smile despite herself. "You're impossible." "Persistent," he corrects. "Same thing." That night, the team celebrates at a small bistro. Laughter fills the table, wine glasses clink, cameras flash. Amelia catches Ethan looking at her from across the room more than once, but she pretends not to notice. When it's over, they all scatter. Walking back through the quiet Paris streets, she hears footsteps behind her. "Ethan, let me walk you," he says. "You really shouldn't." "Probably," he agrees, falling into step beside her. "But I want to." They cross the bridge again, the same one from their talk. The city hums low, the river breathing beneath. "Can I ask you something?" he says. "Depends." "That night, was it regret for you?" She stops walking. "It was real, that's why it hurt." He nods slowly. "Then I'm sorry I made you feel disposable. That's never who I wanted to be." Amelia looks at him, then stops saying sorry and starts showing different. He steps closer. "You have my word." There's a long pause, the kind that feels like gravity deciding who to keep. She breaks it first. "Good night, Ethan." He whispers, "Good night, Amelia," but the way her name leaves his mouth feels like a promise. When they return to New York, distance creeps back in. Work piles up, meetings, travel. Yet something between them hums quietly beneath professionalism. One afternoon, she walks into a conference room and finds a small sketchbook on the table with a note inside. "For the artist who taught me to look up." She flips it open. The first page is blank, except for his handwriting at the bottom. "Start again." A week later, tragedy hits the company. One of their youth programs loses funding. The board suggests cutting it. Amelia argues passionately to save it, but they dismiss her. "It's not profitable." Ethan, quiet through the meeting, finally says, "We'll fund it privately." The board protests. He stands firm. "It's my decision." Afterwards, Amelia finds him in his office. "You didn't have to do that." "I wanted to," he says simply. "You were right, some things are worth saving." "You'll take the loss personally." He smiles faintly. "Then it's the first loss I'll ever be proud of." The room goes still. She looks at him differently now, not as a stranger from a night of weakness, but as a man still trying to get it right. Weeks later, the project launches successfully. The company celebrates. Ethan gives a short speech, but halfway through, his gaze finds hers across the crowd. She feels it like static under her skin. That night, she goes home to find another note under her door. "Meet me where it all started. Midnight." The hotel bar. She debates for hours, packing. Naomi calls. "You're going, aren't you?" "I shouldn't." "You want closure," Naomi says. "Whether that means walking away or walking toward, you'll only know if you show up." At 11:55, Amelia stands outside the hotel, rain beginning to fall just like that first night. Inside, the bar glows with the same golden light. He's there at the same stool, waiting. He rises as she enters. "You came." "I shouldn't have." "But you did," he says softly. She sits. Why here? Because it's where we were honest, he says, before we complicated it with titles and fear. Honesty, she repeats. All right, then tell me everything you didn't that night. He takes a breath. I was supposed to be in another country that morning, signing a deal. I canceled it. I was angry at my life, my father's expectations, the hollow things I'd built. And then you were there, drawing quietly like peace I could touch. That scared me more than anything. Her eyes glisten, and after, I left because I thought love couldn't grow from lies, but I also never stopped thinking about you. She swallows. You don't love me, Ethan. You love the idea of who I was that night. He steps closer. Then help me see who you are now. The rain thickens outside. She hesitates, every part of her wanting to flee and stay all at once. I can't promise I won't get hurt again, she whispers. I'm not asking for promises, he says, just the chance to prove I've changed. She looks at him for a long moment, then nods slowly. One chance. He exhales like a man given oxygen for the first time. You won't regret it. We'll see. They sit together as thunder murmurs in the distance. She laughs suddenly, shaking her head. You really are impossible. I prefer determined, he says. She smiles. Of course you do. Outside, the rain finally stops. Weeks pass. Their relationship rebuilds carefully, shared coffees, late meetings that linger too long, laughter that feels genuine again. He never oversteps, never demands, always waits. One night while they walk by the river after work, she stops. You've changed, she says. Because of you. No, she says, because you decided to. He smiles, maybe both. They stand side by side, the city lights reflecting on the water. For the first time, peace settles between them instead of tension. If you're still watching, remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more stories that make your heart race and your eyes tear up. Let's see how this one ends, because sometimes second chances come with a price. A few months later, Amelia wakes before dawn. Her phone buzzes with a message from Ethan. Come to the office rooftop at sunrise. Trust me. She frowns, torn between curiosity and irritation. Still, she gets dressed, throws on her coat, and walks through the quiet streets, the city still half asleep. The elevator hums softly as it carries her up 30 floors. When the doors open, the wind greets her first, cool, clean, full of promise. Ethan stands near the edge, a thermos in hand, 2 paper cups balanced beside him. Coffee, he says with a smile that doesn't reach his eyes. It seemed safer than champagne this time. Good choice, she says, folding her arms. What's the occasion? He pours for her. The charity project hit full funding last night. Every child in the program gets housing and school support for the year. Her lips part in shock. You pulled that off. You, he corrects gently. Your designs, your campaign, your heart. I just made sure no one got in the way. She takes the cup, warmth seeping into her hands. You could have told me over email. He looks at her, eyes bright under the rising sun. I didn't want pixels between us. I wanted this. What's this? He steps closer. A moment to say thank you for not giving up on what mattered. Ethan. I know, he interrupts. You said one chance. I've tried to spend every day earning it. She studies him, remembering the man who once walked away from her bed, from his truth, from everything that could have made him human. The man standing before her now feels entirely different, still powerful, but lighter somehow. I noticed, she says quietly. Then let me ask something else. His voice trembles a little. Can we be real again? She hesitates. I don't want a fairy tale. I don't want boardrooms and rumors and waiting for the next time you run. He nods steady. Then I'll walk even when it hurts. I'm done running. The wind lifts her hair. For a moment, silence stretches thin between them. Then she closes the gap, wrapping her arms around him. His breath catches, and he holds her like someone afraid she'll vanish if he lets go. Okay, she whispers, one day at a time. He laughs softly against her hair. One day's all I need. They stay like that until the sun rises fully over the skyline, painting everything gold. For the first time in a long time, neither of them feels like they're standing on borrowed ground. Days turn to weeks, weeks into months. Their bond grows stronger, rooted in honesty. People notice. Whispers spread through the office, but Amelia and Ethan handle it quietly, without spectacle. What once felt like scandal now feels like peace. One Friday evening, Naomi visits the office to drag Amelia out for dinner. She catches Ethan waiting by the elevators with a bouquet, not extravagant, just simple wildflowers. Naomi arches an eyebrow. "Well," she mutters, "looks like someone's finally figured out subtlety." Amelia laughs, cheeks flushed. "We're getting there." Ethan grins. Even billionaires learn eventually. Naomi shakes her head. "You two are ridiculous, but fine, I'll allow it." When she leaves, Ethan offers Amelia his hand. "Dinner. Only if you're not ordering anything that needs to be flamed tableside." He chuckles. "Deal." At the restaurant, over candlelight and laughter, Amelia asks, "Do you ever miss who you were before?" "No," he says, "because that man didn't know what he was missing." "And what's that?" "You." She rolls her eyes, but her smile betrays her. Still dramatic. "Maybe," he admits, "but honest." Later that night, as they walk back along the river, the city hums softly around them. Amelia stops, staring at the lights shimmering across the water. "It's strange," she says. "A year ago, I thought I'd lost everything that made me believe in love." "And now?" Ethan asks. "Now," she says, taking his hand, "I think losing hope was just how I found it again." He squeezes her hand. Then maybe that night wasn't a mistake. She smiles faintly. Maybe it was the beginning. They walk on, steps matching, hearts in sync with the rhythm of the world that's somehow quieter now. Months later, at another charity gala, their first as an official couple, the crowd buzzes as Ethan takes the stage. Cameras flash. Amelia stands in the wings, fingers clasped around the same pen she used to design the campaign that started everything. Ethan clears his throat. Tonight's success isn't about money. It's about second chances. About the people who remind us we can start over, no matter how far we've drifted. Applause fills the hall. He looks toward her, eyes full of warmth only she can read. When the event ends, he finds her outside under the fairy lights. "How'd I do?" "You didn't trip over the microphone this time," she teases. "Progress," he pauses. "Amelia, can I tell you something?" "Always." "I'm proud of you, not just for the work, but for staying kind in a world that rewards cold." Her eyes soften. "You help me remember why kindness matters." They stand quietly for a moment before he says, "You know, people still talk about that first gala, the one where Vanessa showed up." She laughs. "That night, I nearly resigned." "I nearly confessed," he says. "Would have saved us a lot of trouble." "True," he smiles, "but then we wouldn't have learned anything." She leans into him. Maybe learning was the point. They stay like that as the crowd drifts away. The air smells like rain again, just like that first night, but now it feels cleansing, not heavy. Later, as they ride home, Amelia looks out the window and whispers, "Do you ever think about how weird this all is?" "How do you mean?" "You, the billionaire. Me, the woman who couldn't even afford the hotel breakfast after you left." He laughs softly. "I think about it every day, and I thank the universe you didn't hate me forever." "I tried," she admits with a grin. "I noticed." They both laugh, quiet and genuine. By the time they reach her apartment, the rain has stopped. She turns to him before unlocking the door. "I don't know where this goes, Ethan. I'm still figuring it out." "That's fine," he says, taking her hand. "We'll figure it out together." She kisses his cheek, lingering for a moment. "Don't make me regret it." He smiles. "Never again." When she closes the door behind her, she leans against it, eyes closed, heart steady for the first time in years. Outside, Ethan stands on the sidewalk for a long moment, rain dripping from his hair, smiling like a man who finally understands what happiness costs and why it's worth it. The next morning, Amelia finds another note on her table, short, simple, perfect. "This time I'm staying." She presses it against her chest, laughing through the tears. Then she walks to the window, looking out over the city, sunlight spilling through the clouds. Life, messy and beautiful, waiting to be lived. And somewhere far below, Ethan looks up at her window and waves, that same crooked smile she first saw in the bar, the smile that changed everything. Voiceover fades in as the screen dims to gold. Sometimes love doesn't arrive the way we plan. Sometimes it breaks us first so we can see who we really are. And when it returns, it's not perfect, it's just real. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Would you have given Ethan another chance? Tell us below, and stay tuned for the next story that'll make your heart skip a beat.